When this man died, he left a sad little poem for his gravestone. Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he who moves my bones.
That skull had a tongue in it, and could sing once. How the knave jowls it to the ground as if it were Cain's jawbone that did the first murder.
The poem did work. His bones have been left in peace. But his reputation, his reputation.
And now my lady Worm, chaplain.
Now that has suffered quite a tossing and a turning these last 200 years.
Here's fine revolution.
Alas, poor William. He looks serene, doesn't he, here, dominating Poets' Corner. But the comments from the floor are a bit of a shock. Henry James, the famous American novelist, said, "I'm haunted by the conviction that the divine William is the biggest and most successful fraud ever practiced on a patient world." That was Henry James. And then there's Dickens, who seems to like the fact that the life of Shakespeare is a fine mystery. And I tremble every day lest something should turn up. And Shaw, who, although not here, simply says, it would be positively a relief to dig up Shakespeare and throw stones at him. That was George Bernard Shaw.
Actually, I don't find the list that impressive. I mean, as soon as you have a god, as Jonathan Bates says, as soon as you have a god, you have apostates. And it's a game that people play. Not only has there never been as great an author as Shakespeare, there will never be as great an author as Shakespeare, because the cultural conditions will not recur. Therefore, we have this enormously famous figure, who is the first person everybody goes for.
There's bad blood there. I mean, I'm interested in these people. It seems to me that the people who think that Shakespeare didn't write Shakespeare are either American snobs who tend to go for the Earl of Oxford, or great British eccentrics.
At the top of a block of flats in London lives a man who's tried to make sense of all the attacks on Shakespeare. He's John Michel. He's written an excellent overview book, and in the process built up an amazing library.
It's remarkable how over the years hundreds of books have been written on this authorship question. Who actually wrote the works attributed to Shakespeare. Particularly the Baconians. They started this business, first of all, the followers of Sir Francis Bacon, and all this middle shelf, they're all about the authorship of Bacon. The first book, I think it was 1856, was by an American lady, Delia Bacon.
No relation to Francis Bacon?
No, she was teased about that, but she always denied she was... Well, perhaps she thought she was related to Francis Bacon, but actually she was an American Puritan lady who came to England, tried to open Shakespeare's tomb, and then went a bit strange in the head, and her brother had to come from America and take her back. Up here is I suppose, the second most popular candidate, who is the Earl of Oxford. Edward de Vere, who got a great deal of support and a great many books written about him. Sigmund Freud joined in the debate. He was an Oxfordian. He believed the Earl of Oxford fitted the character of Shakespeare as he psychologically characterised him. But then people who believe in Shakespeare, they're believers too, because of all the candidates, possibly Shakespeare, the man from Stratford, is the weakest. We don't even know if he could read or write. You know,
what a mystery, huh?
It is a great mystery. It's a delightful mystery too, because it takes you into very beautiful territory. The 16th century mind, so on, the 17th century.
What about Marlowe? Is he a candidate who appeals?
Marlowe has his supporters. There's quite a number of books on him. And he's the only one really among the candidates who was a professional playwright. Yes, this is the key book in the case for Christopher Marlowe. Hoffman's the man who was Shakespeare.
Calvin Hoffman.
Yes, he was the man who opened the Walsingham tomb in Chislehurst Church. It's certainly the most amusing book in this whole subject is Mark Twain's Is Shakespeare Dead? And Mark Twain got into the subject because when he was working on the Mississippi riverboat, Twain's colleague, the pilot, was very much against it. So Mark Twain took up the other case to give him an argument. And he said the more he went into the Bacon case, the more he was convinced by it. And now, he said at the end, I give up my life for it. People have become really obsessed, really fascinated and caught up by this subject, and indeed given lives to the study of it.
I don't see that the issue of authorship. I mean, the issue of authorship seems to me is a substitute for people, a substitute activity for people, rather than looking at the plays. It doesn't help us.
But the authorship debate has helped Mark Rylance, Shakespearean actor and artistic director of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London. Amazingly, Mark thinks the real author might be Francis Bacon.
No, I really think it's the only rational response at the moment is to say that it has to be an open question, at least. It really has to be an open question on the evidence.
How did this come about? Well, studying Hamlet in order to play the part, Mark found great learning in the play, but nothing in the life of Shakespeare to show from whence came this learning.
So I came to it actually by finding something very helpful in the widening of my view of the learning that this man had. And at first I didn't think much of the authorship stuff. I thought, well, they can talk a bit about that. But then one morning I woke up and I thought, my mind is changing. I'm not quite sure anymore who did this. And that was an amazing moment for me, when I came to not being quite sure. How did you? Why are you making this film? Why are you interested in this?
Much simpler. I just read Calvin Hoffman's book and I was shocked, profoundly shocked.